Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a story that's shocking, controversial, and frankly, a wake-up call for America. Imagine this, a rally with prominent Democrats and someone throws a Palestinian flag over, an American flag. And the crowd erupts in cheers. Yeah, you heard that right. But what does this really say about the direction of the Democratic Party today? Stay tuned, because what I'm about to reveal might just blow your mind. Last month, at a rally featuring prominent Democratic figures like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders in Idaho, an incident unfolded that sent shockwaves through many viewers. As the speakers took the stage and the crowd gathered, someone in the audience took a bold, provocative step. Without warning, they threw a Palestinian flag over an American flag that was displayed prominently on stage. The moment the flag was raised and waved, the atmosphere shifted instantly. Instead of loud boos or protests, what followed was an unexpected reaction. Cheers, applause, and widespread approval from the crowd. Picture it, a symbol of conflict, of struggle, being held aloft in a space that's supposed to represent progressives fighting for justice and equality. But instead of condemning, a flag associated with a region embroiled in violence and turmoil, the audience celebrated it. That visual alone was a stark indicator of where some elements of the Democratic base are heading, a place where allegiance to a cause abroad seems to outweigh loyalty to the nation. Now, logically, what should have happened next? An adult, someone on stage with authority and moral clarity, should have taken that moment to address the crowd. They should have stepped forward and made it clear. This is not a symbol of freedom or justice. It's a serious problem for Democrats. They could have explained that supporting the rights of Palestinians does not mean disrespecting American symbols, or that waving foreign flags over national ones at a political rally is inappropriate. But what actually happened? Nothing. There was complete silence. No condemnation, no call for respect, no attempt to clarify the message, just applause, just cheers. That deafening silence spoke volumes. It revealed an uncomfortable truth. Many in the party are increasingly comfortable turning a blind eye to issues that once would have been considered unacceptable. Instead of confronting the symbolism and the implications, they let it slide. They allowed the crowd's approval to go unchallenged, signaling a troubling shift in the party's core values and priorities. That moment didn't just pass unnoticed. It reflected a broader trend that's reshaping the Democratic Party. One where the lines of loyalty and patriotism are becoming blurred, and where some leaders seem more interested in placating extreme factions than defending the foundational symbols of the nation. And the situation only deteriorates from there. Recent polling data paints a sobering picture about the mindset of America's younger generation, particularly Democrats under 30. Less than 1 in 4 of these young voters express pride in being American. That means over 75% of young Democrats don't see themselves as proud Americans. Instead, more than half of them openly admit they feel embarrassed by the country they live in. Imagine that for a moment. The very people who are supposed to be the future of our nation, the next generation of leaders, are telling pollsters that they're ashamed of their country. Think about what that says about their perception of America. It's like a teenager hiding behind a hoodie, trying to shrink away from the world because they're ashamed of who they are or where they come from. That feeling of embarrassment isn't just a passing phase. It's a deep-rooted disconnect with the identity of the nation that has offered opportunity, freedom, and hope for centuries. And what's behind this shift? It's a shocking generational divide that reveals a profound break with America's core values and history. The story most young Democrats are told now is one of systemic oppression, failure, and moral decay. They're led to believe that America is inherently flawed, a country that needs to be fundamentally transformed or even rejected. But here's the truth. America isn't perfect. No nation is. We've made mistakes, we've faced setbacks, and we've had moments of shame. But it's still the land of opportunity, a place where anyone, regardless of background, can succeed through hard work and perseverance. Yet, many young Democrats now see that very country as the problem. They see the American flag, the symbol of our history, our sacrifices, and our collective identity, as something to be ashamed of, rather than celebrated. This isn't just youthful idealism or a phase of questioning authority. No, it's a dangerous detachment from reality, a disconnect that risks undermining the very foundation of national unity. When a large portion of the next generation views their country with contempt or embarrassment, it signals a potential crisis. Because how can a nation thrive if its future leaders don't believe in its greatness? How can a country stay strong if its young people see its history as nothing but shame? This attitude fuels division, weakens national cohesion, and makes it easier for external enemies or radical ideologies to exploit the existing fractures. It's a concerning trend that demands honest reflection and, more importantly, a shift back toward recognizing America's true value, not as a perfect nation, but as a land worth fighting for. Enter Bill Maher, the comedian and outspoken commentator known for his sharp wit and willingness to challenge both sides of the political spectrum. Over the years, Maher has gained a reputation for speaking his mind, especially when it comes to critiquing the left's direction. Recently, on his popular show Real Time, Maher didn't hold back. He delivered a pointed critique of Democrats, describing them as weak and woke and urging them to get some alpha energy and reclaim the American flag, the symbol of national pride and unity. And you know what? Despite its bluntness, there's a truth to what Maher is saying. He's been sounding the alarm for some time, warning that the left's obsession with certain cultural issues is leading to a dangerous weakening of American identity. But this time, his message was more serious, more urgent. Maher emphasized that even some lifelong liberals, those who once proudly defended America's ideals, are beginning to see the cracks in their movement. He pointed out that the left's fixation on identity politics, wokeness, and what he called anti-American sentiments are spiraling out of control. Instead of rallying around shared values, unity, and patriotism, many on the left seem increasingly preoccupied with dividing the country into categories of oppressors and victims, often at the expense of the nation's collective identity. Maher argued that this approach risks alienating the very voters who could be allies in defending America's core principles. His call for alpha energy and a reclaiming of the flag isn't just rhetorical. It's a plea for a return to strength, pride, and confidence. Maher believes that if Democrats continue down this path of wokeness and cultural grievance, they will lose sight of what unites the country and ultimately weaken its foundations. He's warning that a failure to stand up for American symbols, like the flag, and to project strength and confidence, could have serious political and cultural consequences. This critique resonates with many Americans who feel that the country's leaders need to adopt a more assertive stance, one that embraces patriotism and national pride rather than dismissing or demeaning them. Maher's perspective reflects a broader concern that the cultural and political battles of today are not just about policy or ideology, but about the very soul of America and its future direction. It's not just Bill Maher sounding the alarm. The critique is now coming from within the ranks of the Democratic Party itself. Take Senator Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan, for example, a former CIA agent with a reputation for being pragmatic and straightforward. Recently, she made headlines when she publicly declared that Democrats are weak and woke and that they need to retake the flag. This isn't a minor comment or a casual remark. For someone with her background, someone who served in intelligence and understands the importance of strength, resolve, and national security, to openly criticize her own party in such stark terms is significant. It signals a growing frustration and concern within the Democratic ranks about the party's current direction. Slotkin's words highlight a brewing internal debate. The party's emphasis on identity politics, social justice, and what some see as anti-American rhetoric is creating a rift. She's pointing out that the party appears to be losing its backbone, its ability to project strength and patriotism when it's needed most. The phrase, "retake the flag," is particularly powerful as it calls for a renewed sense of patriotism and pride, qualities that many Americans associate with unity, resilience, and national identity. Her outspoken stance is noteworthy because politicians with her background, especially former intelligence officers, are typically cautious about making such provocative statements. Her willingness to speak out indicates that frustration is mounting at multiple levels within the party. Many Democrats are beginning to question whether the current cultural and ideological shifts are helping or hurting their electoral prospects and their ability to govern effectively. This internal discord reflects a broader tension. On one side, there's a push for progressive change, social justice, and identity politics. On the other, there's a concern that these priorities are alienating moderate voters and undermining traditional American values of patriotism and unity. As Slotkin and others voice their discontent, it underscores a crucial point. The party's future may depend on finding a balance, embracing progress without losing sight of core American principles. In essence, her comments are a wake-up call, highlighting that even within the Democratic Party, there's recognition that the current trajectory risks deepening divisions and weakening the party's standing with the American mainstream. It's a sign that the debate over what it truly means to be American and how to project strength is more urgent than ever. Let's talk facts. America isn't a perfect nation. No country is. It faces challenges, inequalities, and ongoing debates about how to improve and evolve. But despite these imperfections, America remains a beacon of freedom and opportunity that continues to inspire people around the world. Consider the facts. There are approximately 14 million women-owned businesses across the country, reflecting a landscape of entrepreneurship and economic empowerment. Our society is remarkably diverse, with millions of gay Americans now able to marry whom they love and own property without discrimination, a testament to the progress made in civil rights and social acceptance. And culturally, America is more inclusive than ever, embracing people of different backgrounds, beliefs, and identities, fostering a society that celebrates diversity and strives for equality. However, this reality often gets overshadowed by narratives from certain media outlets and political commentators. Some stories spin a bleak picture, claiming that America is under siege, as if the country is in chaos, that Trump's in power, and that everything is falling apart. These narratives tend to emphasize division, crisis, and decline, creating a sense of despair and loss of confidence in the nation's trajectory. But that's simply not the full story. The truth is more nuanced. As Bill Maher and many other voices remind us, the real progress isn't happening in the headlines that focus on conflict or controversy. It's happening in our everyday lives, in our diversity, our innovation, and our ongoing quest to expand freedoms and rights. America continues to be a land where new ideas flourish, where marginalized groups gain rights, and where resilience and ingenuity drive us forward. Maher's perspective highlights that the genuine strength of America lies in its ability to adapt, grow, and improve, not in the stories of despair that often dominate media coverage. Our country's advancements in civil rights, economic opportunity, and cultural acceptance are proof that despite setbacks, progress is real and substantial. In essence, while acknowledging challenges, we should recognize and celebrate the remarkable achievements and the resilient spirit that define America today. These qualities are the true indicators of a nation moving forward, a nation that, despite its flaws, remains a symbol of hope and possibility for millions around the world. Here's the core problem. Many young Democrats, and indeed some segments of the broader left, are being misled into perceiving organizations like Hamas or other terrorist groups as liberation movements. This misconception stems from a distorted view of conflicts in the Middle East, where certain narratives frame these groups as fighters for Palestinian rights or resistance heroes, rather than recognizing them as entities responsible for violence and repression. On college campuses and social media, some students chant slogans like, "We will honor our martyrs," celebrating acts of violence and martyrdom associated with these groups. Such sentiments, while perhaps rooted in a desire for justice or anti-imperialism, dangerously overlook the brutal realities faced by ordinary people living under these regimes, especially in Gaza. The truth is sobering. In places like Gaza, civil liberties are severely restricted. Women often face systemic disenfranchisement, with very limited rights to vote or participate fully in society. LGBTQ+ individuals are persecuted, criminalized, or worse, living in constant fear of violence and discrimination. Basic freedoms that many Americans take for granted, freedom of speech, assembly, or movement, are non-existent or severely curtailed under Hamas's rule. This isn't activism, it's ignorance. Celebrating or sympathizing with such regimes without acknowledging their oppressive nature is a dangerous form of naivety. It glosses over the suffering and the systemic human rights abuses that occur daily in these societies. Instead of engaging with the complex realities, some young activists and students choose to romanticize the cause while ignoring the oppressive regimes they support or defend. What's even more troubling is the silence from many Democratic leaders. Instead of publicly condemning or critically questioning these extreme views, many opt for silence, seemingly more concerned with political correctness or appeasing certain voter bases than with speaking truthfully about the realities on the ground. This silence can be interpreted as complicity, as it tacitly allows misinformation or misguided activism to flourish. By not condemning or challenging these extreme narratives, Democratic leaders risk legitimizing dangerous ideologies that promote violence and oppression. They miss an opportunity to educate their base, to clarify the difference between legitimate resistance and terrorism, and to uphold universal human rights. In the end, true activism involves understanding the full picture, recognizing the suffering of innocent people caught in conflict, condemning violence wherever it occurs, and standing for principles of freedom, justice, and human dignity. Ignorance and silence only serve to perpetuate cycles of misunderstanding and injustice, undermining the very values that many on the left claim to champion. The reality is, if this trend continues unchecked, the Democratic Party faces a significant risk of decline and disarray. Their support base is showing signs of erosion. Young voters who once eagerly backed Democratic candidates are losing faith as they feel disconnected from the party's current direction. Many minorities, a crucial pillar of Democratic electoral strength, are questioning whether the party truly represents their interests amid debates over identity politics, progressive policies, and social issues. This internal turmoil is causing the party's once stronghold to weaken from within. The core coalition that helped Democrats win elections, youth, minorities, and working-class Americans, are increasingly frustrated or disillusioned, seeking alternatives or simply staying home on election day. The party's foundation, built on inclusive ideals and broad appeal, risks fracturing if it continues down this divisive and radical path. Bill Maher, a well-known critic of political correctness and radical activism, famously warns, "When you're in a hole, stop digging." The implication is clear. Instead of course-correcting or moderating their approaches, many Democrats seem to double down on extreme ideas. They promote policies and narratives that alienate moderate voters and swing voters alike, pushing social agendas, identity politics, and woke culture to the forefront, often at the expense of broad-based unity and common sense. Meanwhile, the Republican Party is quietly observing this chaos. With Democrats distracted by internal conflicts, ideological purges, and relentless woke battles, the GOP is positioning itself to capitalize on the Democrats' vulnerabilities. As Democratic focus shifts inward, the GOP can appeal to disaffected voters, moderates, and independents by emphasizing stability, economic growth, and traditional values. If this pattern persists, Republicans could find themselves strolling into power in the 2028 elections with minimal effort. The Democrats' internal struggles, combined with their perceived radicalization, may allow the GOP to sweep the electoral landscape without needing to mount an aggressive campaign of their own. It's a scenario where the opposition benefits from the other side's self-inflicted wounds. In essence, Democrats face a critical crossroads. Continuing down their current path risks further alienation of key demographics and a decline in influence, while pragmatism and moderation could help rebuild trust and electoral strength. But if they ignore these warnings, the political landscape could shift dramatically, favoring the Republicans and reshaping the future of American politics for years to come.